Welcomes you all, a speaker, moderator, panelist, Facebook and YouTube audience and viewer who are watching us online discussion LPC Facebook page and YouTube channel. First, I will like to share my screen. Welcome all. First, I will like to wish you all Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And this to be a Happy New Year, a year of usefulness, a year in which we shall live to make this earth as a better. It is because of the God will direct our the path, and how important then to fill our dependence upon Him. Every month, LPC brought to you various pharma expert from the different field, that is the research and development, academic, quality control, QA, QC, marketing, sales, packaging, regulatory, supply chain, the finance, HR, training department also. This will be enlighten the knowledge about the current happenings and the future in the various department of subfields at the pharma at a glance. This LPC online discussion 35 is continuous episode of brand planning. Brand planning is very important work of the product management team in the marketing department, which has been the heart, brain, and the full functioning body of the pharmaceutical industry. This is our the disclaimer. The LPC online discussion is a non-profit initiative having no commercial interest to views the expressed by the speaker, panelist, and a moderator as per their the individual opinion based on the experience and having no concerns with their the organization or LPC. Now coming to the LPC 34, every month, as you know, every week that we do the appreciation to those who watch us like the consistently or continuously on the Facebook and YouTube. Here, the we are like the appreciating those who is like the online and has a major participation into both the platform Facebook as well as YouTube. First is the Naman Aditya, congratulations. Then the Uzumdar, congratulations. Srijit Srinivasan and Nasruddin Chesti and Moria. So thank you so much uh, for watching us online. And last but not least, the Amy Vaz. Now here we will go on to LPC, the LPC 35. To begin with the online discussion today under the heading of the LPC 35, that is the 35th, the Facebook and YouTube live. In today's 35th Facebook and YouTube live webinar, we have a pharma expert speaker from marketing and sales field. That is the Shubhadeep Banerjee from Cipla, Kanchan Yadav from Bayer, and Dharmendra Singh from Lupin. Also, the renowned personality in marketing and sales, that Amit Goasa, is also here today with us as a guest panelist, and the training and development department, Arpan Paul and Minakshi Iyer as a moderator. Now, I will like to hand over to all our the three speaker to express their view about their the own topic. Now, over to our the first speaker, Shubhadeep.
A very good morning to all the audience and a heartfelt thanks to the LPC team and especially a very good friend, Raman, for this opportunity. I think it feels great to speak to colleagues from the industry, some seniors, and at the same time, some aspiring marketing or sales professionals who might be viewing this presentation. To introduce myself, I'm Shubhadeep Banerjee from with an out-and-out experience in little bit in sales and mostly in marketing. Grown up in Cipla and have been instrumental in shaping a lot of activities and initiatives that Cipla Respiratory, being in the leadership position, has taken over the last 10 to 15 years. And what I am trying to do over the time allocated to me, as Raman indicates, is try to share my own experience on a very interesting topic of branding, which focuses on developing and nurturing of big brands in the pharmaceutical market. Uh, Raman, do you want me to share my slides right away?
No, we will go on to the Kanchan.
Okay, okay, sure. So I think before I move ahead, I invite Kanchan to introduce her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shubhadeep and Raman, both. So thank you, Raman, for calling me again here. So hi, viewers. How are you doing? And wish you Merry Christmas. So we are here in the part two of a series of brand planning. So last Sunday, I'm sure most of you must have gone through brand planning series one, and you have heard three speakers. They talking about brand plan. How do you develop brand plan? And they have given you many examples. And we also enjoyed one nice story of Mr. Arpan. So I think again you definitely remember the way I remember it today. So what am I going to do in terms of brand planning today when we have already discussed so much? Is basically we are looking at some templates. So it is kind of a hand holding that we want to give it to you today in terms of what is a brand plan and how we really execute a brand plan, and whether activation plan or the brand input plan is same as that of brand plan, because I am sure most of you would have this question in mind that whatever input plan I do or cycle plan I do, is this the same as that of brand plan or it is something different? So wait for my session and we'll come back to you and I'll definitely give you the answers. Thank you so much. And take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Dharmendra Singh. Yes, Dharmendra, over to you.
Yeah, you just unmute.
I think now it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Kanchan. Thanks, Raman, for giving this wonderful opportunity. And I think for me, it's like an homecoming. I can see all the panelists, everyone like from Excepla, my previous organization, where I have worked like across 1.5 decades. So I think at the outset, it's a very challenging time, guys, and I hope the new year would be a great year for all of us. So wish you very happy new year well in advance. So I think it's the second series of the brand planning, and the topic given to me is little different. What's new in the brand plan? So it lasts 6 to 9 months have been a huge learning curve for all of us, be it marketing or a sales professional. We have earned on several things, and several things we have learned on the job, the way we have responded to this huge pandemic, right? So in my short presentation, I would be focusing more upon what kind of relevant question we would be asking ourselves when we are sitting on our brand plan for coming financial year. What kind of picking would be required. So we will have certain pertinent questions that will be like open for the discussion or open for the interpretation, and how as a marketing professional we have responded back, right? So certain things will like a food of thought for all of us, and let's see how we can customize all those stuff in our brand therapies where we are working right now. So I look forward for this wonderful session, and I think let me pass this baton to Amit Guha sir. I think he have been uh, one of our mentor when I joined Zipline when in very early stage of my career. Though I have not worked directly under him, but yes, in our young chatters group in Zipla, I think we used to have lots of discussion about sir. So privileged to have you, sir, today in this group today. Over to you.
It's such a warm feeling to hear all such things from people like you. And I feel suddenly very, very old. But nevertheless, I have always believed in one particular fact that nobody is too old to learn anything. And I expect this particular event, particular session to be a very big learning session for myself, because even though I may have grown out of those years and the days from where I really used to do brand planning, but then brand planning is a kind of a metaphor for all those planning that goes out in your own respective lives, plus the business that you are in. So Dharmendra may be doing a brand planning for his own business. So somebody may be doing a planning for his own life. So brand planning, if one is good at, so his own life becomes very, very nice. So that is point number one. Point number two is I have always seen one particular fact about a good brand manager. If there is a good brand manager who loves his brand very well, he or she has ultimately turned out to be a very good parent as well. Because the way the person nurtures a particular brand is the same way the person nurtures his or her child or children. So this is a virtue which is required, whether we are in pharma or in any other marketing firm. So and those are the thoughts that come on the top of my mind. I expect a lot of new ideas to come from young people like Shubhadeep, Dharmendra, and Kanchan today, and I shall really store those thoughts in my mind. And if possible, I will add something from my own experience wherever it is required. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Today we have our the two moderators, Meenakshi Iyer and Arpan, not required like their introduction. They are like the part of the LPC now. We will go straight away to our first speaker. So I will request our the first speaker, Shubhadeep, share your the screen. Shubhadeep Banerjee, currently he is working as a director and a senior marketing head in the respiratory division of Cipla in India. About his introduction, a passionate marketer with innovative bent of the mind and driven by a pursuit of the excellence. The second point is he is basically the commerce man by the education, turned into a profession marketing professional in the pharma with a relevant sales experience of over 18 years. Implemented the several roles in the various capacities and the pioneered several strategic projects in the company, and he has been the instrumental in shaping the respiratory ecosystem of the our entire country through many benchmarking initiatives in the category of Cipla. Currently lead two marketing team in the respiratory division and has the contributed the substantially in the leadership journey of Cipla by shaping the novel therapy segments and nurturing the leading brands. Now over to Shubhadeep sir, you.
Great, Raman. Thanks for the great introduction. Feels nice when someone introduces with so much love and passion. Firstly, a very good morning to all of those who are listening to me for the first time. And of course, a good morning to my seniors and colleagues whom we have just interacted a while ago. So friends, what can you expect from a topic like this that comes to your screen that says managing and developing big brands? So actually, except if you just leave out the letter and, all the four words that has been given in my topic is a whole world. Building brand is a whole new world. Building big brands is another big world. Then you are asking to manage big brands. And finally, developing is all about nurturing the brands for future. So I think, friends, what I can tell you, this whole process of brand to big brand to managing to developing, all of it is a huge experience in itself. And what I'm going to do in my session today is not bore you with too much theories, but I think I will bring to you certain things that I have really learned in my whole journey in so many years, that what it takes to really finally deliver what we call as big brands. So friends, if you really think for a while, brand is something all marketer is known to build for. You are known not by launching products, but by shaping brands. And you know why? The reason is very simple. The product is what the manufacturer makes. The brand is what the consumer buys. So when the consumer buy your brand, you actually emotionally connect with your consumers. That's where a brand separates itself from a product. So let me come to my next slide that actually breaks my entire discussion on the topic into four major heads. But before you go to anywhere, I just want you to start with a simple feeling. Because brand is about transforming an emotional experience of a consumer from point A to point B, it is completely dependent on the vision of the brand manager. We don't, you actually, there are no brand managers according to you, according to me. Because if you really are handling a brand, like Amit sir said a while ago, a better brand planner becomes a better parent. I truly believe that a better brand manager actually is more than a manager. He's the CEO for the brand. He has given birth to the brand, he has nurtured the brand, he will define the future of the brand. And that's why everything starts with the vision. What are you as a professional thinking or dreaming about this brand? Is your vision short sighted? Are you thinking small or are you thinking big? Because what you think is what is going to be perceived. What you will make a consumer believe is what you believe. So the starting point has to be extremely important when we are in the process of brand building. And that's why I have just put a simple word. Let's start with dreaming big and thinking big. Because if we are in this whole business of building brands, we cannot afford to just be mediocre. Because if we think mediocre, our brands will be mediocre. It will just be products. It will never become brands. Even if it becomes a brand, it will never become a big brand. Even if it, by virtue of anything, becomes a big brand, it will never sustain. Because I think the big brands actually transcend, to some extent, the emotional barrier of what a consumer really thinks about perceiving their brand. So next, coming to, once you have built the brand, it's all about making the brand big. What does big mean? Does big mean 50 crore, 15 crore, 5 crore? Is big defined by the numeric numbers for the brand that it achieves as revenue? To me, it is not so. When we say big brands, think about making your consumers feel that this is a big brand. And you know what you achieve by that? If you achieve that, that your consumers have started thinking your brand as big, means you have earned loyalty, you have earned relevance, you have earned the commitment that the consumer will never leave. That is what we call as building big brand. Coming to my third element, that is managing big brands. When I say managing big brands, it is about what you do. It is just like that football on the football ground. You are the striker. The football is in front of you. What are you going to do with that will define the course of action of the brand in itself. So it is very, very important to nurture, in order to manage, in order to plan the activities around big brands in such a way that you stay relevant for a much longer period of time, that you really keep continuing to give the essence of something fresh is always there to the consumer whenever he's getting an interface with a big brand. And my last element will be focusing on developing big brands for the future. That means what you do today is going to define the shape or the fortune of a brand or a big brand of tomorrow. That means your planning has to be extremely proper. It cannot be short-sighted. You have to see beyond the rear mirror. Think of a person who is riding a bike. If you would have thought of only looking at the rear mirror, would you have traveled the mile that you really wanted to do? Perhaps not. So equally, developing big brands for future requires a vision to see beyond what you are seeing today, and that is where the success lies. Let me start with making a very strong, or I would say trying to make you, help you differentiate. What is the difference between brands and big brands? Many a time we equate these two words. Yeah, I handle a 20 crore brand, so it's a big brand. I handle a 30 crore brand, so it's a big brand. Maybe in the category it is, but I think we really have to define in our minds first what we call as a brand and what we call as a big brand. Because the principles are dramatically different according to me. They are not the same. Each is like a ladder. So let's take the example of a brand. I will not take, for whatever reasons, I don't want to take any names of brands, but I still really want you to imagine the picture of the brand when I really try to talk about these attributes. So a brand essentially meets the expectations and consistently continues to satisfy its customers. That is what is all about a brand. And hence, how to make a successful brand, the principles are very simple and to the point. You have to have the right positioning, you have to have the right measure to grow. You also have to know what are the channels and what are the possibilities to make and grow the brand. That is it that you need to do building a brand, which are very essential principles of building a whole brand. And I think I have emphasized this earlier in my presentation that transforming from a product to a brand all comes from connecting emotionally. And that emotional connect can be well sustained only with the right positioning, the right marketing, the right matrix for measuring the impact, and the right levers for growth. So you have already got to get all these points in place if you are in the race of building a brand. Now take a pause. Think about the task that is given to you. What if you had to really think of building a big brand? So the first thing, and I have emphasized this earlier as well, if you are in the pursuit of building a big brand, first try to match the size of opportunity to the ambition. Please remember, what your brand will be is as big it can become, is going to be absolutely the big you have imagined it to be. So it is very, very important to match the size of opportunity with the ambition. Many a times people have heard the word marketing myopia. I think this is what should I say, the problem with all us marketers. Because we are all fixed into the minds of budgets, we feel no, 10%, 12%, 13%, 16%. This is the kind of growth that I can really define for the brand. But please don't do that. Identify the core of the opportunity. Today, if I take an example of a respiratory brand, take any brand that is there in the respiratory category. We see, if you ask me, with a 2,000 crore turnover that Cipla would have close to when it comes to its respiratory products, I would say we are not even touching 10% of the opportunity. The opportunity is so huge. There are 30 million asthmatics. There are 58 million patients who have COPD in the country. 93 million patients who perhaps would require an inhaler. And when I say 93 million, just to remind you, the number is even more than diabetes in the country. But look at the peanuts that a leader like Cipla is selling today. So the opportunity size is huge. We really need to see that. And in order to see that, remove your lens of marketing myopia. See beyond. The second important point, to build big brands, we need to have a long-term view of marketing decisions. It can never be tactical. It can never be a brand plan, which I think Kanchan is going to stress upon in the next part, particularly in the current times. Can never be short-sighted because the world changes. Think of 2020. I think everybody in the marketing world who had prepared their brand plans for 2020 completely transformed in this entire pandemic world. Everything that you had budgeted for, everything that you had thought would define the growth of the brand has actually gone into vain. So you really had to have a risk management plan while you are taking the key marketing decisions. We really have to remove our traditional thinking. And especially this world has taught us how we need to be much more farsighted than what we are today. The third important point, I think it is fundamental to any big brands, is what is your reinforcement strategy? Because please understand, when it comes to big brands, very easily you seem to achieve the level of awareness in front of your customer. The doctor will say, or the people who is consuming, I know everything about the brand. Everything. You don't have to tell me anything. How do you really get out of that boredom? You really need to have a very strong reinforcement strategy, because you have to continue to stay relevant. The doctor, or in our case in pharma, the doctor being the main customer, or even in case of the consumer who is consume your brands, he should not take your brand for granted. He needs to feel fresh. He needs to get new reinforcement at the point of time. And hence there is a need to constantly work on the brand awareness and image building. And I think this is where big brands find their opportunity for growth. My fourth important point that I want you all to remember is what to fortify and what to leverage. Please remember, it is not about doing many things while managing a big brand, but taking your simple trade-offs. These are the 5 things I will do, or the 4 things I will do. These are the things I will not do. That's a very, very important aspect. And last but not the least, in big brand management, has got to do with a lot with concept management. Many a time we think that I don't have a scientific brand. I don't have any new science to talk to the doctor. Hence, my concepts are not great. I will not be staying relevant. How do I build a big brand of tomorrow? I think that's where you have to actually take your leaps from functional to symbolic to experimental marketing ideas. And that's where your concept management becomes extremely critical in the pursuit of building a big brand. So by now, I hope I have tried to emphasize on the points that big brands are not the same as just brands. Big brands are defined by a vision, a strong vision which sees beyond the obvious. And number 3, when you are really in the phase of building a big brand, don't forget your key things of reinforcement, concept management, and your trade-offs. Before I move on to a pharma example, I just thought to bring to you some principles which you might already know, but trying to remind you that how have big brands in any industry tried to nurture their brands. So I think I've spoken a lot about emotional positioning in the minds of the consumers, but please don't forget the 2 words that I have written next, that consistently reaps value over time. Please remember, if Apple would not have invented every new product at every little interval, it can be an incremental innovation. But if it wouldn't have given or come out, if BMW didn't have the different series coming out of it, you don't stay relevant. So once you have connected with the emotional quotient of the consumer, you need to continuously stay relevant and create value for you. And that's where your thinking and long-term thinking has to go. You just can't sit back by thinking that I have got a big brand in the making and I'll just reap the growth on its own. You have to have that. The next are simple principles, which I think all of you know. Don't forget to expand on awareness. We think everybody know our brand. No, my dear. There are many other ways, and there are so many people around the world who still don't know your brand. Think, analyze who doesn't yet know your brand good enough. That's where your chance of expanding awareness. The next important thing, improving image. Whenever a big brand is there already, you would see that there is a constant effort to make the consumers believe that this brand can be used for this as well. The positioning change and the image building is a very strong a process which I want all of you to think and keep in mind. And of course, let us not forget the opportunity that lie in the new markets. We think we are great here, the geography that we are leader in. But please remember, for pharma marketeers, India is a country of opportunities. You conquer the metro, you have the tier one. You conquer the tier one, there is the tier two. You conquer the tier two, tier three, you have the rural. The opportunity is immense. And that's exactly what many of the big brands have done. The third important aspect in nurturing big brands, and I think this is fundamental, we continuously have to find more use of the same brands. That means try to work on consumption, because that is where the big brands will continue to grow. And of course, think about finding new or additional uses of the same brand. And I think we have several examples, and all of this we think are only relevant for pharma. But the point, what I really want to say is, any big brand across the world works on this principle. Repositioning and change of image, we have already spoken to. I just want to end with a very important aspect, which is necessary for big brand nurturing. That is portfolio adjustments. Many a time we do not know what to do when we have too much in a big brand. I think there has been several examples to learn from our pharma industry itself, how big brands have been managed, how they have carefully migrated a consumer or a customer from one strength of a molecule to the other strength, how they have actually worked on acquiring new set of customers for a particular thing. Maybe we have the examples, the huge, large examples of winning various specialties for one brand. And last but not the least, very, very important aspect in portfolio adjustments while building big brands is knowing which one and when to retire. Because if you don't know how to cut your tail, you will not be able to make hay with the opportunities that you have with the others. I thought in our discussion in pharma, I should call out these 5 points, because these are true not just for pharma brands, but are a perpetual truth for any big brands that we see ahead. In my next 10 minutes that is remaining to speak to, I will bring to you a brand that I have personally been very emotionally attached to. Happy to share with you that I have been a part of its journey, not alone, but an enthusiastic team member or a team of people that I work with, both in my team and capacity in head office, and the large team on the ground that makes this brand possible. I bring to you a real life example of a big brand that I have been fortunate to nurture myself along with the team. And here is a same example of the brand Forocot. Now, what I will do in this session is I will not tell you about the principles which are in the book. Whatever you see on this slide are principles from practice. We have literally done this, implemented this, and made it happen. What you see out here, if you can see my cursor, the box in the gray literally talks about the position of the brand. Forocot as a brand is an inhaler brand and also is available in a respule, which is used with a nebulizer. But where it stands today, as far as MAC December, is at the 5th rank in IPM. About 57% of a highly progressive market, close to around 800 crores, and happens to be the number one brand of Cipla today. Since we have many Cipla colleagues here, and I think especially Amit sir and all who are a part of it, very proud to share with you, this brand was actually very, very behind in the trajectory, but only in a period, and see my right hand side corner column, which is marked in blue, it rose from the 19th rank in 2017 to the 5th rank in IPM in only 3 years of time. And that is what it speaks. about the highly progressive possibility of a big brand journey. And today, Cipla was perhaps at one point of time, although known for its respiratory brands, but the only brand that was Cipla's number one was Asthelin. But today, it has superseded Asthelin and become the number one brand of the company with highest CAGR, with highest market beating performance, and not to forget, huge value erosion happening because this brand was pushed into DPC. I think we have several examples like Forocort in the industry where we have seen that a challenge like DPCO has helped spread the wings of the brand. Perhaps this is the one other example that I bring to you. But as I speak of the brand, I just want to bring out 4 to 5 very, very important lever points that we really optimized while we shaped this brand or this big brand from point A to point B. To be more specific, from the 19th rank in IPM to the 5th rank in IPM. So I told you, any brand starts with a vision. And what we did when we had the ambition of building a 500 crore franchise out of Forocort is we thought, let us redefine our playground. We are just playing in the small turf of asthma. We are just playing around the people who are having access to therapy and a very short population. Can we define the turf? And that's when we looked at it. We actually saw that the turf for Forocort is 93 million obstructive airways disease patients in India. That is the opportunity for the brand. And when you think about the opportunities, you actually see that how much more you can do. So when you think of the 93 million patients with OAD in front of you as the opportunity, you really think different for the brand that has the promise to offer. And hence, we took a very strategic, a very long-term view towards this brand and worked on the following points, as you can see on the slide, starting with treating multiple SKUs as multiple brands. Forocort has 8 SKUs. We thought it is not one brand. Let us consider what we would have done if we would have managed a portfolio. So a portfolio management approach came in our SKU brand. And when you manage every SKU as a portfolio in itself and consider each of the dosage forms as an individual brand entity, you look at the opportunities in a whole new way. Your outlook changes and you identify new levers for growth. I must tell you, I was fortunate that the molecule was very, very promising. It was highly science-based, and there were very much new opportunities or new science coming in this category where the usage turf of the brand saw a large expansion. And that's what we exactly did. More so what we did, very, very important point. We saw one brand, but we defined categories within the brand. So today, if you look at the brand Forocort, it is actually an umbrella that houses literally, in a way, 2 different therapies. It houses a therapy called home nebulization, which is poised with the Forocort Respules. It poises a therapy called asthma, which is managed by several SKUs, and it is also indicated in COPD. So that means 3 consecutive kind of therapies repositioned inside one brand. And of course, thankful to the innovation that the company helped us bring on the ground, progressive life cycle management by introducing newer forms of the devices have already helped us in the way. Other than market share capitalization and specialty-wise depth and width. We started with Forocort as a brand for the chest physician. Today, it's a sought after brand among physicians and equally the most sought after brand among general practitioners. So I think this is nothing new, but yet these were some rudimentary things that helped us take Forocort to this level. I want to close with just one point that helped Forocort see the height that we are in is consumer facing initiatives. The world has changed. The world is changing. If all of us have changed in the pandemic, the most important person who has changed is the patient, is the consumer. So I think for any big brands, the outlook towards consumer is a very important strategy. That's what we did in case of Foracor that helped us with. I just want to end with the 4 to 5 other principles that help build Foracor in the long run. And this is so relevant for any big brands in the industry. More important, the long ranging plan. You have to put the goalpost in front of you. You need to define that. Where do I want to go? What is the size? How will I achieve there? Then you will think. Number two, break out from the routine. Bring contemporary marketing ideas. Today, we are in a very agile, very different world. The traditional pharma marketing will not work. We have to find channels. We have to think totally differently to nurture a big brand, particularly today. Third, the customer. In our case, for this brand, it was the doctor. I think I can tell you, we took a very aggressive customer strategy. Every specialty, we were geography wise, we were clear how many doctors, how many prescribers, how many non prescribers, how many competition prescribers we are really going to shape. The next most important thing was the people. Who makes the brand? Who nurtures it? It is your people down the line. So a very, very robust people engagement and motivation was deployed to bring Foracor to this place. You know what we just did? We sold the dream of Foracor to our people. It is the people who have taken the brand from the 19th position to the 5th position. We took the brand ambition to our customers. We went to the customers and seek support. He said, there is no inhalation brand in the top 10 brands in pharma. What are we fighting? We brought that emotional connect. We said, sir, the top 10 brands in pharma is only focused with diabetic and antibiotic brands. Where is an inhaled brand? Can't you make it? Can't you contribute it to make Foracor becoming the only or the first inhalation brand in the top 10? So from the top 10, we actually reached the top 5. And last but not the least, we continue to focus on the innovation pipeline with product and offerings. This is a very important thing. Not every big brand is fortunate to do, but I think for us it was, and I think we thank the management that we saw the vision together and brought so many innovations on. My last 2 slides before I bring to you is we have understood the difference between brand and big brand. We have understood the key principles. We have seen what other industry people do to build big brands. And we have seen a real life example in the case with Foracor as a brand from the pharma marketing itself. But we are in 2020. We are going to start a new year with a new ambition. Our principles need to evolve. We cannot think the way we were thinking earlier. Our market definition and opportunity scoping in today's time is very myopic. We don't see the larger picture. We don't see the opportunity of the brand with a robust market research. And if you ask me, that's going to be one of my strong messages. India lacks data. We do not have data for the disease segments. We, at least for respiratory, we have been very unfortunate. But I think wherever we are, a proper marketing research, opportunity scoping is very, very important. The second point is about channel. Today, we are not playing with doctors and patients only. The channel has become a very, very important influencer. So we cannot miss that. There is room for innovation. And more importantly, to me, if you ask me, consumer is the new customer in pharma. Today, we are no longer limited to doctors. We as marketers have to think large, have to think beyond to really be able to catch the consumers. What are those different ways to reach out to patients directly? Yes, doctors are important. They are going to be important, but we really need to reach out to the consumers. So with that, I come to my last slide. where I really want to focus on that if we are here to build big brands in pharma, what does the future look like? What, as young marketers, you should take away or you should work on? I reiterate, never think small. A big brand is a product of your imagination. What you think is going to become big tomorrow. So please don't think small, think big. You have the opportunity, identify it, then make the plan. Tomorrow's big brands will find relevance only when it interacts with consumer. If you make a great product, but it doesn't emotionally connect with the consumer, the last consumption person, it will not work. You have to make a complete plan, a 360-degree plan, and a long-ranging plan to be able to predict the tomorrow. Right offering with brands is very, very important. Just by the key features and benefits is no longer acceptable in today's time because there are so many people offering the same. It's very important to define a unique offering. And last, as marketers, as we all are here, we need to be contemporary. We can't live in our past. We have to live in our future. We have to think digital. We have to change our thinking. We have to explore things that perhaps what FMCG has thought 10 years ago, we have to bring that to pharma. So that's how we can really define big brands. And I'm very confident all of what I have shared is a output of what I have done. I have not spoken any theory. These slides are not available online. So I brought it myself. It's come out of me. And I felt if you practice these simple principles, you are definitely going to be successful. With that, I thank once again the LPC team and my esteemed co-speakers and the panelists whom I look forward to interacting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shubdev ji. That was a splendid presentation on with so much of practical experiences what you have done with developing a successful brand, and it's very nice to hear it from such a good leaders like Sipla and from Shubdev ji. So let me summarize whatever you have told so that it will help the viewers. Um, the first thing you started with a wonderful way: think big, dream big, think big. So that was your starting point. And what are the special thing that a big brand is having? They always have a long-term vision. So you insisted on having a long-term vision, and that was a wonderful differentiation between what is a brand and what is a big brand. So you have given it in a very simple way. For a brand, you have given a simple essential principle like positioning, marketing, measure, and grow. And you highlighted what are the essential things you need for a big brand. So the first thing you are talking about is matching the size of opportunity to the ambition. So that it was very nice to hear that remove the lens of that marketing mafia. So that was a wonderful key line from your presentation. So you should always have a long-term view, which includes all your risk management. And the third thing you are mentioning is the reinforcement strategy, that is the image building. Then we are talking about fortifying versus leveraging. Then good explanation on concept management and progressive revitalization. So this, and the one highlight you showed is big brands are not same as a brand. Here I would like to quote one small thing which last week ICS Vermaji was showing in his presentation. Bisleri, people don't call it as a water, they say Bisleri water. So they have developed a product from into a brand. Most of us say, even I used to say that only, I'll get a Bisleri water. So that is the way a big brands have been developed, and a wonderful explanation from your side. And you have given some strategies for nurturing the big brands. The first thing you are talking about is that emotional positioning. Not only emotional positioning, you should have a consistent read value. You have to add values over time. So like given wonderful examples of Apple and BMW. Every year there will be a new version from Apple, which people really love to take that brand. And the second point is expand the awareness and you have to find new and additional users that you have mentioned, and repositioning of the brand. Then the last thing you mentioned is migrate or acquire or retire. So that you spoke about portfolio management. In that you have told one line which was very catchy: know when to cut your tail. That we should definitely know that it is a very vital point. And it was so nice to hear the story of Fora Court, from where to where, from 19th position to 3rd position, 5th position you have mentioned, with reaching about 800 crores. That was really a very inspiring story for other brand managers to imagine and visualize their brand in a big way. And a lot of tips you have given with that. And last but not the least, you have given something on practicing the principle, practicing like long ranging plan, and the important thing, breaking the contemporary marketing ideas and strategies. Then strong consumer management you are referring, people engagement and motivation, innovation pipeline that you have mentioned in your PPT. And last, to summarize it, you have given it with 4 points: think big, then right offering to the customer, customer interaction, and contemporary tools. So this you have given a summary. And one highlight which you have mentioned in your presentation is consumer as the new customer. So that is what a pharma has to now take. Apart from doctors, the marketing brand manager should always focus on creating a brand, keeping the consumer into the mind. So it was wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for giving such a wonderful presentation. There are a lot of appreciations has come in YouTube. So let me read a couple of appreciations. It was a splendid performance from Satish Kumar, and people engagement strategies are very important. Sudeep Baumik has commented. Then there are some questions also. People have said that there's a mind-blowing insights connecting with consumer relevance and a very strong message. And Rahul has mentioned, thank you very much, sir, for sharing your rich experience and thoughts. So this is all the appreciation which has come from YouTube. I think Arpan, you can share something from Facebook. Arpan, you're in mute.
Hi, hello everybody. Yes, there has been a lot of appreciations that has been pouring in from all corners, and you were just telling a few from YouTube. And on Facebook also, we are having a lot of appreciation for the dignitaries that have been present, and Mr. Shubhodip Banerjee, the wonderful presentation that he has given us right now. In fact, a brand sometimes becomes bigger than the product itself. And some examples that you have said, like Bisleri, and I feel Xerox and Cadbury are two other examples where the brand has become bigger than the product. And obviously, a brand is a brand manager's child. And to nourish the brand is the responsibility of the brand manager. And there has been Mr. Arumugam Arasan, who is very happy with whatever has been spoken till now. There is Mr. Deepak Loyalka, Mr. Amrinder Kumar, Mr. Bhavik Patel, Mr. Subroto Chandro, and the top fan, Mr. Nasiruddin Chisti. So they have all given their appreciation for the wonderful presentation that has been delivered by Mr. Shubhodip. So now, to take this session forward, I would like Miss.
So before going on to the second, Arpan, before going on to the second talk, Amit sir, from your side, anything?
Yeah, that's what I would think. Amit sir, you can add some values to Sudeep ji's presentation. You are on mute, sir. Sir, you are on mute.
That was a wonderful presentation, Subhodip. Fantastic. It reminded me of my old days of brand management. There are a few very, let me say, very basic points of managing big brands that I have in mind. I'll just put them forward. So you can appropriately put them wherever you are practicing brand management. First and foremost, my guiding principle for my entire brand management career has been the marketing funnel: top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. The customer behavior in all the three segments are different. When you are managing a very large brand, you have huge number of customers in the bottom of the funnel, where the importance of delighting the customer becomes very important. So that is one point. So the importance must be given largely to delight the existing customers who can turn out to be your advocates and then generate more people, more customers. That's point number one. Point number two is that if you are striving to further become big, you cannot help but you will have to look at the top of the funnel where people, you have to get people more interested in your brand. So you'll have to put out more information, generic information, and that should lead inside the funnel. That's point number two. Point number three, as a good brand manager, one must be very acutely aware about what are those success stories, what are those factors during the introduction and growth stage of the brand that was there, which one can use to replicate and grow the brand further bigger. One important thing is that while we are in an industry where the transition of people happens very rapidly, so if you are lucky, then you would be staying with a brand for a very long time. But we are running after designation, so a brand manager will run after designation and go on to become a marketing manager, and further on to a, so the essence of being a brand manager goes out. So the point here, what I'm trying to do, and the same happens in the field. So the point that I'm trying to drive home here is that the field force and the brand manager, existing brand manager, must be instilled with the same kind of a pride, passion, and training. Training is the most important. If these three things are instilled in the current people who are managing the brands, because the brands grow from a stage A to stage Z over a period of 10 years, 15 years. It is very it would be very improbable that a person at the stage Z would be the same as stage A. So the new person, new batch, new people who are selling it must have the same kind of a philosophy, same kind of a hunger that the people who started the brand with. So these are the few things I have understood from Subhadeep's presentation: the need for innovation in communication, presentation, creating extensions or usage. All those things were very well placed. So these are the few points that come from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. G, for adding wonderful values to Subdeep's presentation. Before going to the next speaker, I think we can take one question which has come from audience to Subdeep ji. Mr. Satish Kumar has asked one question. Can you share a few insights on fortifying and leveraging? He has asked 2-3 questions. I think this one will be the best. So I've chosen one question from him. So you can give some insights on that.
Sure. So Satish, thank you for the question. I think the point what I really want to mean is making the right choices in the big brand management is a very, very important aspect. We need to know that what is it that I'm going to protect and what is it that I want to let go. We cannot achieve everything. What happens, and I think it happens especially taking the reference of Amit sir, people who are handling the brand for perhaps a little longer time, the feeling comes along everywhere that, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do too many things. But I think the focus is a very, very important aspect in big brand management. There will be a lot of deviation. We have to do this also. We can't miss that. No, please stick to your plan. Only let the external market, the external circumstances define what agility you should have. But keep a faith on what choices you are making today. The fortification is a very, very important aspect. I'll give you a very small example, maybe from the referring brand that I was giving in. In case of defining the growth mark for a brand like Voracort, we were very tempted to go and run to the general practitioners as a specialty expansion. We did that by choice, that unless we consolidate at chest and physicians, we will not go and explore the GPs. This was just one such example what I gave you, where we were very focused because we were very keen, we were very clear that how we are going to get the value and grow basis the brand. And hence what I want to mean, fortification is very, very important and you should know when to leverage and when not. I hope I have tried to answer Meenakshi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Subhiji. Now over to Arpan for getting into the next speaker.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shubhodeep. Yes, it was really a very wonderful insight, and the answer to the question that you gave was very relevant, because two things define a brand: the communication and the positioning. And right now, you said the positioning, that you did not allow the brand to land up in the hands of the GP, and rather it had a very niche segment where we are positioning. So thank you so much, Shubhodeep sir, for your wonderful insights. Now we go on to our next speaker, Ms. Kanchan Yadav. So, ma'am, would you start sharing your slides here? Yes, Ms. Kanchan Yadav, she is currently the marketing manager in the radiology portfolio at Bayer. And she is a unique blend of a marketeer with strategic thinking and operational excellence. Moreover, a pharmacist who has turned into a very successful sales and marketing professional for over 19 years, so almost 2 decades. So she has performed diverse roles, starting right from the medical representative, and has entered into all level of brand management to a marketing manager at Bayer's radiology portfolio. Now she has experienced diverse cultures and worked in organizations like VHB, Indian pharma companies like Sarabhai and Nicholas, and Indian MNC Cipla, and an international MNC, that is Bayer. So we welcome Ms. Kanchan Yadav on this LPC-35 platform, and please present her deliberations. Over to you, Ms. Kanchan.
Kanchan, you'll have to unmute.
Kanchan, you are in mute. Kanchan, unmute.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, very much. Please start.
Hi. Thank you, and sorry for that small technical issue. Suddenly, my bandwidth went very low, as you can expect in such forums. Yeah, so sorry for that short stop or halt. Thank you so much, Arpan, first of all, to introduce me so well. Thank you so much. And today, and thank you, Shubhadeep, for giving that such a nice premise, where you have described about what should be the real thought process when you actually start, or when you actually look at how you want to look at the brand planning, or where do you want to reach. And you said that there should be a goalpost, and it should not be only for one particular year, but then at least 3 to 5 years journey that you should have in your mind. And you should remember that you should actually set a check, that okay, I want to reach there, and how do we really reach. I'm sorry, again, I have some problem with my slide moving forward. Okay, great. Okay, so my topic is basically brand planning for innovative brands. So once you have decided that you want to really make your brand big, okay, you have a brand. So what you have in the first place is a innovative product, okay, innovative brand that has landed to your basket. And now you as a brand manager or a product manager needs to develop the brand plan for that particular product. So the organization has done their stuff, and the future of the brand, the nourishment of the brand is in your hands. How do you decide the journey of that particular brand? Is why do you really do a brand plan? You want to be more relevant to the market. You want to grow. You want to grow your finally you want to grow your business, and you want to achieve a certain numbers. That is your target. But how do you really take this journey of brand plan is initially by looking at the market, developing some insights externally, looking at your internal structure, what are your resources, what are your strengths, your weaknesses, and then you look at your team members, what kind of trainings are required, how do I really take marketing decisions is based on all these external and internal factors. But you as a brand manager, if you look at the organizational ladder, you the sales team has a different generally is a different vertical, and they are not reporting into you. And basically the most difficult thing that you as a brand manager or a marketing manager do is getting people to execute your ideas without any reporting relationship. And hence, selling your ideas to the team becomes your another agenda, which is equivalent to a brand plan that you decide for a brand. Okay. If your ideas are great and if you have done enough market research and if you really live in that particular market, then it is very easy for your sales team to accept and adapt your ideas, and then success is yours as a team. Okay. I mentioned in the introduction that what is a brand plan? Is it the cycle plan? Is it the input plan? No, brand plan is not your activation plan. I often discuss with some of the younger generation product managers, and when I ask them, okay, so what are you doing this year? And then they come back to me and say that, okay, I will have 3 visits to core doctors and 2 visits to normal doctors or standard doctors. And I have developed a e-visual aid for core doctors and a print visual aid or a print LBL for the second visit, and third visit, I have some gimmick or some reminder, and that they feel is a brand plan. Is this the real brand plan? And no, the answer is no. It is your activation plan, which is the last step of your brand plan. How do you develop a brand plan? Your brand plan is basically a document which answers all the strategic questions for that particular brand, market, or a segment. Okay. And this brand plan is basically a Bible for anybody who reads it. It's the past, present, and the future of the brand that you have seen as a parent, as Amit Guha sir said, that you become a parent of that particular brand. So you actually decide, plan. You know the market, you know the background, you know about what do you want to achieve, and you also you know that how to make it a big brand, as Mr. Shubhadeep just now said. So it is basically, brand plan is the document which answers the strategic questions. So you will wonder, what are these strategic questions? Yeah. So what are these questions? These questions are basically segmented into two formats. Okay, two places. So one is, what is your playground or a battleground? Okay, so what is the battleground or where to play? And then your winning strategies, how you are planning to win that particular battleground. Okay, and in that, if you divide it further, these two segments, there are 5 typical questions which, when you answer, will help you differentiate your brand from the competition, which help you to actually innovate in a way that your brand becomes different and important in that particular segment. And let us look at what are these questions all about. So first is, when we talk about playground identification, the first place is where we need to start is, we need to understand, where do we really intervene? Where do we really intervene in terms of launching the product or growing the product if it is already in the market? Okay, so whether your brand is a new brand or whether it is a old brand which is already present and now you are reviving it after a certain point, where do you really want to intervene? Yeah, which is your customer segment that you're looking at or targeting at? Or this year, if you're looking at this brand plan from a certain angle, do you want to add certain segment, customer segment? Do you want to delete certain segment? Or do you want to expand on a new customer segment? That is the question you need to ask yourself. This actually defines, where are you going to play? What is your playground? Okay. And then, how are you going to play? So to play and decide your strategies of playing, you must understand my selected segment of the customer, what are their behaviors currently? What drives their behavior the way I want it to drive? Or if I expect a certain input or output from their behavior, what will actually be the barrier? What is going to stop them in behave in a certain fashion that I want them to behave? Okay, there whether so whether you are in a market where you're the innovative product, but of course there will be strategies which are indirect competitors to your product. If you are an innovative product with a lot of generics in it, then of course you have the alternatives. But then there can be direct and indirect competition which is existing in that market. And this is the question which you need to ask, that how do I really differentiate? How do I compete and still have an edge over competition? So this is the next question, the fourth question that you want to answer. And the activation plan, that comes the last. This is the end product of your brand planning, where you decide how do I effectively activate my plan. So now, until question number 4 is your background, is your art of war, is the strategies that you are deciding, is the market research that you're doing, is the brainstorming that you're doing within the teams, and what comes out as a result is the activation plan, where you define, okay, I have so many customers, I have this number of customers, I can do this number of visits, I can actually talk about this particular message that I have already decided. And now I decide, how do I really talk to my customers? Which channel do I take? Okay, how frequently do I meet them? How frequently I do certain activities? And to do all that, how much budget do I have? And once I do that much, I invest in my all resources in these particular activities. What am I going to expect? What is the ROI? The one question that you are being asked by your seniors and by your managers and the heads of the divisions is, what is this activity going to bring back to my table? Okay, so that comes the last. And this will happen as you desire, only when you answer the first 4 questions in a very, very in detail manner, and not in a way of assumptions. So let us look at some deep dive, and let us deep dive into each question. Okay. So where do I intervene to launch my product, or where do I intervene to grow my product? So first, define the scope of the market. Yeah. So what is the scope of the market? Suppose you are into, let me take my example, I am into radiology department. Okay. So what is my market scope? The bigger market is all centers and hospitals having radiology units. Okay. I want to launch a CT contrast media. Okay. So my next smaller segment is all hospitals and centers where there is a CT machine in place working. Okay. Now it is a contrast media where so I go further deep down. So all the CT and MRI in radiology becomes my next segment. My smaller segment becomes all CT machines, and my further smaller or micro segment becomes doctors who do only CT with contrast. Okay, that becomes my very small section of the market. And first, I would like to target that particular market, because there I don't have to sell the concept of contrast media, but I have to sell the brand which I have in my kitty. Okay. And then further going back, I can actually elaborate on bigger and bigger segments and capture more and more market share. Okay. Now in this particular segment, where if I define my market as radiologist using CT contrast, now I want to understand what are their behaviors. How do they look at contrast media? How important they feel is this particular product I should be using? In which all patients, in which all indications I do use. Okay. So I need to understand this customers, how what is the thinking process of this customers? How are they defining and deciding on which product to use? So one is they are using the products, there are multiple products, how I make them, or what decides their brand. Okay, which brand are they going to use? If I'm into this segment wherein I have doctors who like my product, okay, but suppose I am into certain segment where doctors are not the decision makers. Okay, if there is a prescription product, doctors actually like your product, they remember your product based on your efforts, and then they will prescribe. But then who is the decision maker in the entire segment? The doctor is a decision maker, he has already prescribed. But suppose this medicine is supposed to be delivered from a hospital pharmacy to a patient, then who becomes the decision maker? Is the purchase involved? Is anyone else involved? You are entering into a government tender. Who is involved? Is it the committee who is deciding which product to be added to the tender? Okay. Identify your segment and who are the decision makers in that particular segment. What does that mean? There is expansion of your customer portfolio. One is the HCP who should be convinced to use your product based on the scientific aspects or the edge of your product. But at the same time, you will have to also go to the purchase committee, the tender committee, the stores manager of the hospital to ensure that your product is intended, your product is there in the hospital pharmacy for the patient to buy. Okay. If it is a prescription product, a trade market, you have to meet the nearby retailers and ensure that it is available. That becomes a very, so that chemist also becomes a very important decision maker. If he doesn't keep your product and just replaces it with whatever he has, okay, your entire efforts are going to go waste, right? So when you decide which segment, which market you want to go, and then once you decide that, okay, this is the segment, these are the decision makers, these are the behaviors that I need to follow, or these are the behaviors that I need to change, decide on the leverage points. Where do you really want to play in that particular market? Okay. And just target that particular segment. So in my case, suppose I decide that only radiologist, he is the key decision maker, and I need to talk to him and get my product in some other hospital. Probably it might happen that, okay, radiologist is convinced, the department is convinced, but the purchase manager doesn't see value in buying my product because it shrinks his or her margins. Then probably my target customer in that particular segment is the purchase manager. Okay. Now when we decide, okay, this is the scope of the market and this is how I want to intervene in this market with this kind of leverage points, I need to really understand, if I have defined 10 segments or 4 segments, for example, which is the segment that becomes my priority segment. Okay. The priority depends on whether whatever my plans will be, is it actionable in that particular segment. Okay. So maybe I have identified a segment where I need to talk about the product attributes and I will win. But if there is another segment where probably the disease awareness is not there at all, and I need to start my work from awareness, then I need to decide, should I go in the segment where awareness is already there, just get it first, get it on the market, increase my market share, and then probably the second market, that is awareness, I will look at it later. Now, this is the way I need to do the mapping of the segments. Why I would keep the awareness segment later is because if I do awareness, there are already 4 other brands in the market. Even if I do the awareness, I do not know how much return I am going to get from that awareness campaign. Probably people would be more aware, consumers are more aware, doctors are more aware, but when they write whatever is top of their mind. Probably I have spent so much of my energy in increasing the awareness that I couldn't make an impact in the brand positioning in such a way that my brand has become the priority for that particular prescriber. Okay. So target segment identification and then prioritizing them becomes the second most important question. That should be your question. And then you should always answer, if I'm targeting this particular segment, why am I doing so? What are the reasons behind it? Is it an actionable segment? Maybe I have a very big opportunity, but can I really get benefit out of it? Okay. Maybe awareness segment was such that where I have about 70% of the market, and if I enter into that, probably I may not get even 10% back. Okay. Because I have competitors who are working there. Yeah. Maybe I am in a zone where I cannot offer the kind of pricing they want. Okay. I may not compete with the competitors in terms of some other dealings that they have with the customers. Yeah. So look at the segment, prioritize them based on what you really want to get back from that particular segment, and decide on your target segments. Yeah. Once you have decided where to play, okay, in terms of what is the market size, the scope, what are the customer behaviors, what are the small segments or micro segments that I have analyzed in this particular segmentation, and I have prioritized it. Now I take a deep dive further in my selected segments, and I really look at who are my customers, how do they behave in a certain condition, what are the reasons for their such behaviors. Okay. Do I want to change their behavior? Do I want to utilize the same behavioral pattern and get my product in? So what are the drivers? If they are already behaving in a manner that I expect them to behave, how do I drive further? How do I drive their behaviors further so that they select only my product and they become my loyal prescribers? What can I expect that if I do in a certain way in the behavior, what can be the uh, barriers to their behaviors? Even if I put in all my efforts, what can be the barriers and how can I really change these barriers? What are the internal and external impacts that they have on their behaviors, and how do I modulate them? Okay, so understanding your customer behavior. So just for an example, if I give you today, in the COVID times, we all started work from home, and there were no face-to-face connections with the doctors. And suddenly, in the month of April, all the organizations started doing web programs or web meetings, webinars. Yeah, and initially there was a very good response. So April, May, good response. Suddenly, from June onwards, the response went down. And I'm sure this must have happened in your organizations also. The response went down because there was so much usage of digital, and doctors really didn't wanted to spend any time anymore on the webinars because it was full of it. I mean, everybody was bombarding them with webinars, with some kind of speaker engagements, with some kind of digital activities, because everyone wanted their attention. And some of the doctors really shut them off. They stopped even taking calls from salespeople, and this did happen. And you must have experienced such kind of thing, you know. So you need to really understand and keep having look at what drives the behavior of the customer and what can be the barrier to a particular customer behavior, whatever you expect. Okay, then look at the market, who all are present. You are not the only one, so there is definitely a competition. There are so many products in the market, different needs of the market. Look at what competitors have on offer and how your product differentiate itself, whether it is a product or it is a service associated with your product that makes a difference. Okay, when you decide this, decide also how are you going to communicate your product features or benefits or differential factors to your customer. What is your core message? Okay, and keep it short and simple. Okay, you talk less but achieve more. Talk very impactful. So what is the communication line that you have? What is your positioning? What is your communication line? That becomes a very important thing. And once you have reached here, you have looked at the market, you have decided on the segment, you have studied your customers with respect to their behaviors. Now you have a plan. You also know how competition is going to behave. And now comes your activation plan, which talks about what are the activities that you're going to do, what is the channel that you are going to choose. Okay, whether you are going face to face, whether you are sending emailers, newsletters, programs like webinars, ECMEs, face to face meetings, whatever. And how much budget do you have to do all these activities? Is it within your reach? It is not within your reach. Decide. Based on that, decide which is the activity which would give me highest ROI, and accordingly go for it. Yeah, so this is a very brief brand plan that I have explained you in this particular one slide. There are many tools, you know, to answer these questions or answer these questions more in a structured way. So I'm sure you all can answer these questions, but if you want to really answer these questions in a structured way, and as I said, we will do little hand holding of you in this case. So there are various tools that you can use, and you can actually Google, look at some look at some marketing books, and you will get this. Uh, and they somewhere look like that, but I may show you a few more tools. You know, so for everything there's a tool, and you can actually utilize it. So for example, if you want to define a scope of market, so use the metrics wherein you go deep down. So there's a bigger market, and then the smaller market, and the smaller market, and the very small market where you really want to grow or intervene, where you are sure of your growth, and then start expanding. Okay, so start small but impactful. Yeah. uh, Various times it is very important to understand the patient journey and understand where in the patient journey you want to capture that particular patient, or whether where you want to really invade to change the decision making. in the patient journey. Okay, so you need to really, so this is a typical tool, or few people call this as a buying process also. I call it as a patient journey, because then you really understand how the patient moves in that particular therapeutic segment. From where does the patient arrive? Is it a GP? Is it a referral? Is it a physician who is referring to oncologist, for example, an oncology product? Is it a physician from where it is coming? So what background has happened to the patient, in what stage the patient is in? Okay, and what are the therapeutics, so what are the diagnoses? So suppose there are some basic diagnoses have done at the physician level, and physician has declared that okay, the patient needs to go to an oncologist. What further diagnosis will happen of this particular patient in this particular indication? Is it CT? Is it MR? Is it some other blood markers? Accordingly, once the outcome when the diagnostic outcome comes, then decides the treatment choice. So whether it is medical, only medicines, and the patient would, depending on which stage the patient is, whether it is only medication that is going to help the patient, whether it is radiation, whether it is chemotherapy, whether it is a combination of all three at a certain interval. And then comes the brand. So if it is a medication or a combination, then there are multiple brands in that particular segment, and there the doctor has to do the brand choice. Now I can play, if it is a medicine, for example, I can play here where I can define that okay, if you do only medical, your patient will also be able to come back. Okay, uh, if if there is a combination therapy, then where do I really want to play? And then start highlighting those leverage points where you can play, and you think it will really give you a mileage. Okay, so decides such various leverage points in the patient journey. If it is a brand choice, then you know your differentials of the brand, and then highlight a certain particular segment where you really want to go ahead and talk about your brand differentials and win over the competition. And then look at the compliance. Where will the patient move out of the journey of my brand? So where will the patient move out? Is it at the prescription level, whether it will be a refill, at the refill point, at the counter, at the chemist counter, where my prescription will be replaced? So keep a watch on that also, and finally decide a few leverage points where you can act. Once you decide the leverage points, yeah, look at the leverage points from a different angle. So if I have a certain leverage point, what is the opportunity at that particular point? Current opportunity, future opportunity. If I want to intervene, how much cost or resources that I'm going to really have to attract that particular leverage point? What are the competitors doing at that particular point in the patient journey? Okay, and is there any disproportionate outcome? That means if I do everything, will I get the benefit of that, or will the competitor get a benefit of it? What is a disproportionate value? Yeah. When you do the segmentation frame, this is another example of a segmentation frame, and it can be consumer or customer centric, or a physician centric segmentation frame. So if it is a physician centric, on one side there will be, or one site there will be physician description. So whether it is a specialty wise description, potential wise description, what he likes or dislikes, based on that, what he likes to prescribe, what he doesn't like to prescribe, based on that you can do a description or make smaller segments. On the other hand, when you plot the patients, then whether it is a first line treatment, second line treatment, whether there is compliance, no compliance, regular, chronic, acute, based on that patient parameters, you can actually design the physician segmentation frame. If it is a patient segmentation frame, then it also depends on the demographics or situational. Okay, the situational variables become more dynamic, and accordingly you will have to change your plans. um, uh, that will decide how frequently do you need to really change your plans. So such kind of segmentation frames are available. Once we decide the segments, we need to also evaluate all the segments. And how do we evaluate the segments? How to prioritize it is, what is the current size of the segment? What is the growth that you expect? What are the changes that you expect in this particular segment in the behavior? And are you capable enough to drive that behavioral change in terms of the cost, effort, resources? Okay. How strong is your brand currently? If not that, how strong is the competitor brand and why? Okay, what is the level of the competition? Who's doing what in that particular segment? And if even if it looks a very difficult segment, sometimes there are KOLs, there are thought leaders who are sitting in that particular segments, and you will definitely have a spillover potential if you work in that segment. So even if it looks little difficult, even if it takes more of your resources, such as money as well as time, but if you really work on that, it has a huge spillover potential. Then definitely that becomes your strategy, that becomes your important segment to work on, provided you have the organizational resources, yeah, and you have that dream of making your brand big. Once you actually evaluate each segment, plot them in terms of, all attractiveness of that segment, and mark it less attractive, medium attractive, or highly attractive, and that really becomes, you know a guiding line for you to go forward. Yeah. Then some of you, so of course I'm not showing you all the tools, some basic tools I have shown. Sometimes somebody will ask me that, okay, what if I have multiple brands which play in the same segment? Then keep it as different as possible. Okay, keep the target segments distinct in terms of identify the segments for their differences across the segment and similarities, and then play over it. Okay, you should know at any point in time what are the similarities in this particular segment, what are the differentials, and how I can utilize the differentials within the segment to have my two brands on the board. Okay, so that will make a difference. When you select a segment, also look at the actionability. That is very, very, very important. You identify a segment, but if it is not actionable for you for whatsoever reason, whether they're external or internal, sometimes even, so suppose today we talk about digital a lot, but what if I talk a lot of digital but my team doesn't have a laptop or an iPad? How far can I go? Okay, so that means I have huge plans and my brand plan talks 10 pages on digital, but my people do not have an iPad. So first, go to your bosses, go to the decision makers in your organizations, tell them that, give them a premise that look at this and we need to change, and are we ready to change? So let me have it in my brand plan, or I have such huge plans, will you support me with some investments? Yeah. Suppose no, then you need to look at some other segments in a different way. Okay, so look at the segments whether they are actionable. Look at your external as well as internal parameters with which you can really approach that particular segment. Prioritize the segment in a sequence, so high, medium, and low, and quantify the business opportunity against each segment. That will again and again remind you how much and how deep you have to take the decisions. If you look at the table on the right side of my slide, suppose how do you, so once your doctor or the segment is convinced with your product differentiations and ready to prescribe, are there any hidden places where your whether the where the purchase may not happen? Okay, sometimes, most of times this happens that, okay, you have an excellent plan, your team has executed it well, and you have looked at suppose everything but not the risk factors, and your team doesn't know now where do I go. So while you develop the brand plan, look at the risk factors. Once you expect a certain achievement or a success, where it can stop, where it can stop. So look at the path to purchase also. Only designing or strategizing is not your responsibility, but making it executionable is also very important. You are the hand holding, you are going to handhold your sales team in actually getting the business. Yeah. So how do you really look at the path to purchase? So where is the purchase originates? What are the triggers? How does that particular segment looks like? How do they evaluate the brands? How do they decide on the brand choice? And how your product reaches to a channel or a store, whether it is retail or a farm or a hospital, and then the end user. Think proactively where your brand can actually get uh, get some barriers. Okay, and then work on that in the plan itself. Okay, so you have plan B, plan C. Yeah. So whatever descriptions, whatever tools I have shown you, whatever descriptions you put, ensure that you have done, if not thorough, but little market research, maybe through your team, maybe through external parties. Uh, ensure that it is not, most of it is not based on assumptions. Even some of it can be based on assumptions, but ensure that within a certain, a particular period, you actually get it validated, okay, and then move forward, okay. All the relevant information should be incorporated in your brand plan so it becomes a bible anytime. Now, when we are talking about brand planning, I would also like to little bit talk about digital strategy. I know Dharmendra is going to talk in detail about the newer ways, and of course, that would be more of digital. But when you talk about digital, look at your organization, have a self review. Where am I? Where am I sitting? What is my organization doing? What are my organizational goals? How is my division performing? How is the communication between the sales, medical, and marketing? Or how is the structure, commercial structure of the organization? Okay. Is there any communication gap or alignment which is missing between the teams? Okay. Or the structure? Yeah. What are the roles of my field colleagues? What are their roles and responsibilities? Have I explained them what are my expectations from them? Okay. And then how does my salesperson, can I actually have a sneak peek into the day in the life of my team member? And can I add or delete certain activities which would reduce his burden, or make him more potential, or make him more impactful within the uh, inside the clinic? Yeah. What kind of training and change management is required in my particular organization when I am looking at digital? Okay. So am I equipped enough to train my field managers on digital engagement strategies? Do they have the basic understanding, or I need to start from there? Okay. Are they aware of the brand value propositions? Are they aware? So one is the technology, but in, so they may be very good at using technology, because all younger generation, they know the technology well, but do they know my brand also well? So do they know what they need to talk about the brand in that particular segment of the customers? So along with technology, should I also look at training them on the brand again from the digital perspective? Because now I'm probably getting little more time or little less time, uh, little more time than face to face. Okay, then how effectively they should talk about the brand? Will the same message or the same talking points what I used to use during a face to face call is going to be impactful during digital communication? Okay, think on that. And whether so look at the data. So establish the data and analytical strategy, in order to provide your field managers, meaningful insights on the HCP engagement. Yeah. So it is very important to get into the analytics now, which we may not be doing some time back. But when we do digital, how many doctors have you really, particularly with digital, you get more detailed data. How many did login, how many were there for how many seconds or minutes or hours? So do the deep dive, take a deep dive, understand, do the analytics. Yeah. And then look at what you want to continue. It's a dynamic world, and you need to actually change your ways. So basis the segment, you decide on the channel, and accordingly you need to be flexible enough to change your channel, change your message. Not the brand message, but the way you want to communicate, you can always change. So be flexible in this, and provide tools and technologies to your staff to reach to virtual. And then this is just my last slide. And I thought, let me take a view, in terms of what has happened during COVID time. So what was that? How were we, before March? So we knew there was awareness. We knew, okay, there is some digital engagement needed. Some of the organizations can talk to doctors only when they have consents. You can actually evaluate your organization, where is it, and how you can reach. So understand which is the channel really liked by the consumers. Yeah. Whether it is emailers, whether it is newsletters, whether it is webinars or ECMEs. Yeah. And we were working on it. We were talking to people. We were talking a little bit, but it was all underway. Okay. Actually, uh, what was happening was, although we were talking about all digital, what we were basically doing were more of F2F. Yeah. A face to face channel was being used. E-detailing was available, but how much it was used and where, nobody actually did much of analysis. But March 2020 changed everything. COVID came in. Suddenly, we actually shifted towards digital, and what was the easiest was phone calls and emails. Okay, and then we moved on to phone calls and emails. New content was developed immediately. Marketing during this time, I'm sure you all must be agreeing that the marketing was the busiest a department, along with their agencies or somebody, because they wanted to create a lot of material. Every week there was supposed to be a emailer. Every week there was supposed to be a virtual meeting, you know not only external but internal also, because you have to train your team and you were completely busy. And new content, so email interactions. So July onwards this increased a lot, and multi-channel interactions increased. And we are here now where the F2F channel may come back in some time. For some organization it has already come back, uh, but then the digital remains. Okay, remote engagements have increased, or at least we are trying towards that. There are remote meetings peer to peer. We are organizing some ECMs here and there. We have continued, but we are trying to make this uh, as a major platform. Okay, I'm sure your brand plan needs to be modified with respect to this view. What I have briefed you until now was the basic idea in which you can actually apply to any kind of brand. Okay, any kind of brand, not only pharma, but say suppose consumer health, or you look at FMCG, or you look at any other product apart from pharma. Okay, any other product, or your own, for example, you are planning your own career. Plan it in this way, in a structured way. Where do you want to play? How you want to win? Yeah, these are the two basic questions you need to answer, and then plan your career path. I think that would help. Yeah. Of course, with respect to the digital engagement, Dharmendra will take over from here. But just a summary slide. So, what the customer activation plan should look like is, of course, you should have the audience, the segments, micro segments clearly defined, key messages very strong, brief. Okay, how do you want to communicate? So are the channels in place, whether it is print, face to face, digital? Are the channels in place? What is the sequence of interaction? Okay, so it's like a symphony now. Yeah, so you have to actually put in all the channels and put in all the inputs in a way so that there is a continuous process and a very nice melodious thing comes out of that. And for doctors it is not a bombardment but a melody that he receives from your end. And wherever possible, look at the consent, respect consent. If some doctor says, okay, don't send me emailers, please respect. And that's the reason I've said it is not only segments now, but we are moving towards micro segment. When I say micro segment, look at the individual doctor's acceptance, whether he or she likes phone calling, emailer, newsletter, webinar, ECME. Please respect the doctor's consent level. Yeah. Otherwise, sometimes doctors are friendly. They will smile at you, laugh at you, but they'll say, okay, this person never understands what I really want, and I'm not going to prescribe for him. Okay. So that might happen, and hence look at the channel accessibility, respect the doctor's decision. And with this, thank you so much. Wish you all a very happy, safe, and blessed new year. And over to the team.
Thank you so much, Kanchan. It was really a very wonderful presentation. And you have actually given us a lot of insight into marketing and brand plan. Just to summarize what you just now said, you started with brand planning, where the innovative product development was there, where the points you said was to develop more effective brand plan, to enable better brand building insights, and help the structural thinking to make better marketing decision. Then you spoke about the activation plan, where the brand plan is also sometimes referred as an activation plan, and the activation plan is the end product of brand planning. You then highlighted about the playground identification and the winning strategies with the points of where to intervene, which are the customer segments, what are the behaviors, drivers, and the barriers, how to compete and sustain edge over the competition, and how to activate our plan. Then there was a very beautiful part that was the understanding the customer behavior, where you actually said about that today's innovation is tomorrow's commonplace, and doctors are not interested in digital calls because everybody was bombarding with the digital calls after this COVID. And then there is a need to create a difference, so that we need to give impactful messages. And I always believe that we should under promise and over deliver instead of the other part. And then there was the scope of the market, where you had given a wonderful matrix. Then you came over to a very important part, which has become probably the best part in pharmaceutical industry, that is the patient journey. So identifying the potential market leverage points. Then about the criteria for evaluation and selection of a market and the leverage points, you gave some wonderful insights. Then you spoke about developing the segmentation frame, evaluate the segments, then segment selection, evaluation. You also gave some very useful tips on the segment selection. You had a small insight on digital strategy. And finally, there was a activating multi-channel HCP engagement. So thank you so much, Kanchan, because it was a real pleasure hearing the wonderful points that you have said today on LPC-35. And there has been a lot of appreciation that has been coming on Facebook Live from Mr. Aramugan, Mr. Subrata Chandra. There has been Mr. Nasiruddin, Mr. Dinesh, Mr. Kushagra, Mr. Paras, and Mr. Pramod More. And they have been giving lots of appreciation for the wonderful presentation that you have given before us. There have been many questions also which have been coming, but I would, because of constraint of time, I would ask one question, which is how frequently should you visit a brand plan? If you can kindly answer this.
Okay. So generally, where to intervene? If you look at from that particular question, the first question, that you should visit, I think, after 2 or 3 years. Okay. But the all other questions you should keep on visiting every year when you look at the brand plan. Okay. Because the major market actually does not change much in a year or so. So where to intervene remains a static thing, but then in terms of customer behaviors, drivers, barriers, because everything else is changing. There are new product coming in, new development happening, and new channels are getting explored. Expectations are different. New products are coming in. Yeah. So other questions you need to review really every year. Only the first question you can review after 2 years or 3 years, for that matter. Yes.
Thank you, Kanchan. Wonderfully explained. Now I will hand over to Amit Guha sir, so that he can give his insights. Amit sir, over to you.
I really like the way Kanchan went ahead with the entire process of thinking through the brand plan and the way to introduce brands in the market, the way the entire process part of it. I'll just stretch it from there to innovative brands. And there are only 7 points that I want to make, and then move on with the remaining presentation. And those 7 points are: one pertinent question that one must ask before making any kind of an innovation. And let me tell you, innovation is not just another brand or any other thing. I would consider innovation in the sense of getting into a new segment, getting into a new line extension, different drug delivery system, new communication, new usage, new set of users are all innovations, actually speaking. But the pertinent question is, why do you want to do this? Is your innovation going to fulfill any real or a perceived current gap solution? That's the biggest question one needs to ask before making any kind of innovation. Second, you must be very clearly aware about how many customers' feedback is the basis of the innovation. We are all product managers. We have all grown from that level, and we are all tempted to do something new when we get into a new project. So that temptation is very dangerous. If behind that temptation you have a solid backing of about 2,000, 3,000 customers who are wanting some kind of a innovation, yes, you are on track. Third, unpredictability. All of you would agree that this COVID situation, this pandemic situation has actually thrown all the brand plans into the dustbin, because everything that was there in the brand plan is of no consequence any longer. The paradigms have changed, the markets have changed. Fourth, if you are looking at gaining quick results out of the innovation that you are making, you must always look at the early adopters. In our pharma parlance, the early adopters are those on whom the company in an overall manner gives a lot of investments or has a good loyalty. Those are the early adopters in our framework, and those are the people who you should go to try out any kind of an innovation. Fifth, if you are innovating, you must have a very, very strong feedback system, because if you don't have a feedback, your innovation can run into trouble in a matter of months to a matter of year. And once that happens, you are deeply frustrated, you are disappointed, you will be forever scarred for life, you will not try out anything. No, it should not happen. That's the reason why you should have a very strong feedback system when you plan a brand with some kind of an innovation. Then, sixth, exit strategy. What is your exit strategy? Supposing your innovation is not working, should you hang on to that? No, you should not. So, if you are exiting, what is the exit strategy? Is the exit going to impact only the brand, or is the exit going to impact the overall business that you are doing? That's very important. And finally, one must always keep this in mind: never fall in love with your idea. That's one mistake that people make, and people get not only fall in love, they get married to it. They feel that that is the idea, that is the only one in the universe which is the best. That's not always possible. So these are the 7 points that comes quickly to my mind. Beyond that, I think Kanchan has deliberated upon most of the other things. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, LPC team. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amit sir, for this wonderful insight. Yes, of course, the innovators and the early adopters take care of the new products, whereas the late adopters and the laggards, they are always in charge of the older products, so that we can always have the new as well as the old products running together. Now we'll hand over to Meenakshi ma'am, who is going to introduce Mr. Dharmendra Singh. So Meenakshi ma'am, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arpan. Thank you, Amit ji, for the wonderful value added to Kanchan's presentation. Now it's time for us to invite our third speaker, Dharmendra Singh. He's the General Manager, Sales and Marketing, Oncology Portfolio in Lupin, and he has got 15 plus years of experience in pharma sales and marketing with the diverse therapies areas like cardio, diabetic, and oncology. He is a job learner, started as a field representative in diabeto, then moving to cardio, and last 10 years in oncology. He's more passionate about building brands, playing pivotal role in shaping newly launched divisions of Cipla in diabetes and oncology. We are very happy to have you here, sir. Now it is over to you, Dharmendra Singh, sir.
Thank you. I hope my voice is loud and clear.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. So I think after a very heavyweight presentation from my earlier speaker, so let me move towards where I would be challenging the way of traditional brand planning, the way we would have been doing it in past, and we will be doing for this coming financial year. So I think my topic is very simple: reimagining the basics of brand plan. And when I say this, if I move to my next slide, so guys, now we are in era where we used to say it's like an AD and BC and AD. So when we are doing this exercise, so we were before COVID and now we are after digital transformation. So all these things which have changed our lives in last 6 months are definitely going to change the way our perspectives are there, the way we used to see our brand plans, and the way we used to do our entire exercise, right? Pharma has always been a laggard in adopting a newer approach. When I say new approach, it's like primarily towards digital innovations and all those newer things. But in last 6-8 months has given a new shape of this entire scheme of things, entire ecosystem, as well as there have been lots of learning and the behavioral shift at all stakeholders, be it a pharmaceutical industry, be it a doctors, be it patients. I think the penetration level has gone up a very high level. And as Kanchan was mentioning, we all were just responding to challenges which was coming as the way we were moving on. We had a sudden, thrust of WhatsApp, emailers, and then we move to ECMEs. And ultimately, we all know that there have been, lots of market survey which has shown that almost 60% doctors, they feel they don't see any value addition in their practice of whatever pharma-driven education programs which were going on. So I think that have been one of the key learning for us, keep how we can be proactively prepared. And second point then that I feel, keep see we have been all been trained by an push kind of marketing. We 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 entral on the power of our field force on the grounds, traditional way, go and meet customers, do and and enforced frequency of your brand reminders, brand recall, and execute your strategy. Now I think there's a huge shift is happening from the push marketing to a profiling based marketing. USPs are changing to UCPs. When I say UCPs, is like your user experience, your perceptions. Perceptions are becoming a reality, right? So, as a role of a marketing, as role of a marketing colleague, as a product manager, what role I'm going to play and creating all those perceptions which are going to make or fail my brand proposition in this highly volatile segment where things are changing very fast. So I think this is on my left hand side. It's have been the traditional brand plan, and which was taken up very beautifully by my earlier speaker. I have just carved out the four basic things which I feel we need to little innovate in terms of our analysis, the way we approach all these 4 pointers. If when we will sit in our brand planning, so for foremost is your profiling, segmentation, and targeting. See, we have been and trained ki STP is the way forward. But how I see, I think the profiling will take a lead role the way we used to and we should be doing our brand planning, because customization and individual approach is going to play a critical role in terms of brand success as well as our brand communication. Second point is a patient centricity. I think in the first presentation, Shubhodeep has clearly mentioned uh, the patient has taken a central role. And when I say this, I think I used to replicate the way FMCG sees an end user. The pharma sector always had that inhibition ki we can't approach and we should not be approaching a patient directly. But now in this all those frameworks of limitation, we have to see what kind of user experience I'm building to my end customer, because patients are central to each and everything. And the COVID has again shown key users are the king here. The third point that I would be touching in my short presentation is HCPs, the omni-channel communication. I think the days are gone where the entire strategy was based upon, the mix of 70% of print, 30% of digital, and it was all defined, by the call frequency and all those stuff. What is the role of omni-channel communication? What is omni-channel communication? How it has to be critical part of your brand plan. And the fourth, but not the least, is the fulfillment, reach, and access. See, India is a very very diverse country. All the major pharma players have always taken a huge pride. We are sitting on a very robust distribution channel. Products are available every nook and corner of the product of the country. But the last 6 months at the peak of COVID times, we have all seen, despite of best efforts and synergy, built up by the pharma players, still the end users were struggling to get the right medicine at right time. Be it a chronic medicine as simple as your basic drugs like diabetes, hypertension, to a super specialty segment like oncology or nephrology kind of segments. So there was a huge gap where the patient, where the end drugs reaching to the patient. So all of a sudden, this also becomes should become an integral part of the brand plan, whichever we are going to plan for uh, coming financial year. So I will just take all these 4 pointers. And I will like to build those perspectives, ki how and why these pointers are very very important for all of us. So see, we all have seen the segmentation, and majority of us, the demography and geography segmentation have been the key drivers for us. uh, कि भाई it's a tier 1 city, tier 1 city, big metros, or rural areas, then the kind of customers we have, KOL, KBL, his potential to our business, and based upon that visit frequency. That have been the traditional way of broadly segmenting our customers. But now there's one more element which has added. It's about the profiling and the insights of customer, which has to be a real time, which is just touching his behavioral persona, not only about his potential and other things. So, so when I think digital have been the most talked subject in last couple of months. So that is why knowingly I have not touched that subject in a great deal in my presentation. I'm just steering away from that topic because enough have been discussed. And I must say, digital is the only tool where we all are learning, and we all are just doing hit and trial methods to to reach a right content to the customer at right time. So coming back to my point, digital behavior. So I think with what all understanding we have got, so broadly it's like a three kind of customers, which broadly fall into these buckets. The customers A, which are fully digital savvy, and they are like top of the world. They are on the Instagram, they are on the Facebook, they are on the podcast, they are on the ECMEs. You name the channels, and they are. So they becomes the early movers on this newer platforms, and who have been becoming the most visible face in all the initiatives that any pharma companies are doing. Then you have a partial. So the partial are little comfortable with the digital kind of environment, like a very basic stuff like a Google meetings or a Zoom meetings kind of stuff. So they are like, they are the fence sitter, they're the new fence sitter. And then you have the third segment, which is primarily your uh, the old customers, maybe your 30-40%, the top end customers, where nothing to with the age, but they are not comfortable with this kind of environment. So they will still okay with the basic calls and SMS and WhatsApp, but still they prefer the physical meeting the way it used to happen. So guys, because lots of emphasis and stuff is happening, and each and every brand, therapy, and the organization, what is the digital a plan for your brand, what is the digital rollout for your division. So but before we roll out that, I think the first fundamental question that we need to ask and answer and profile, ki how much the profiling information I have, ki this content will be suit to which customer. A doctor which is not having uh, you know uh, a Facebook account or social media presence, for him creating an entire social media campaign might not work. So the idea is ki, again going back, so the mass approach will not work. It has to be a customized, it has to be individualized. That is the way forward, and I think this are more pertinent to the, as you move up to the specialty ladder, where the customers are very less and where the patient pools are very less. It becomes very critical. Then the preference for digital channels. Again, it's very interlinked to my first point of digital behavior. The third point have been always a very huge pain point for all the marketing guys. If we don't have real world insights of the practice pattern, which molecule, which brand, why, what kind of duration of therapy, what is happening real time in the doctor's chamber, what he's prescribing on the product. We have been hugely depending upon the ORG IMS where the data have been available. But guys, they have been on the newer platform, emergence of newer platforms with the advent of the entire ecosystem of teleconsultation, every single prescription that is going on digitally getting tracked, and that throw away a huge set of information. You don't have to sit for 3 months, 6 months when you get your ORGMS presentation, ki how your brands are moving up the ladder in terms of physician, GP, cardio, neuro, whichever therapies they are representing. Now you can sit on the real time world data, guys, because the things are very dynamic. I think the days are gone where we used to review our brand plan once in 6 months, once in a year. The only thing which has given us a huge learning in last 6 7 months, the change is inevitable, change is dynamic. So I think this energy and agility is something that will define the next decade of brand leaders in the market. Market research is one thing which has always been taken as a forte of innovator brand and multinational companies. But gradually, as Shubhadeep was also mentioning, if we are going to make a big brands, Big brands will not happen just on your muscle power of your money and your customer push. It will work upon what kind of market insight you are having. So all these 4 pointers becomes a very, very integral part when you go for your segmentation and profiling and where you want to put your money, guys. So don't hesitate of taking all these steps when you go your external and internal market detailed segmentation. And if you're not available, go and ask your managers, go and ask you what are the data insight you have available, which can help you to real time, address which kind of step where you want to intervene with your brand. One more point in terms of demographic market segmentation. Guys, with the COVID, the lots of patient movements have got restricted, and that is something it will not turn around entire way it was before February and March. You will see lots of centers of excellency coming and emerging in the tier 1 and the tier 2 cities. uh, so last decade was there when the diabetes and cardiology has gone into masses. You go to any tier 1 tier 2 cities, rural areas where Cipla, Mankind, up to some extent Sun, I think they were able to create a niche for themselves. But now now the entire market has gone. You take your you take your oncology, nephrology, transplants, hematology. So you will see lots of smaller centers of excellence coming in, tier 1 and tier 2 cities. Lots of corporate which are not able to build that reach, they are aggressively working on this hub and spoke kind of model. So all these are important indicators from the market that must be a part of your brand plan when you are working on this in terms of profiling and insights. Now coming to second point, patients. So patients have been critical to whatever things we do, but the newer challenges which we have seen in last couple of months, suddenly there was a huge gap in terms of patient access to healthcare. Access of medicine again becoming a second challenge for us. Continuous care. If you see on the right hand side of the slide, it just give you a journey how the challenging it was in terms of even the newer diagnosis, patient dropouts, treatment holidays, treatment initiation, new patient diagnosis, patient visits. Because of fear of the disease, lots of patients have not gone back to their doctors to resumptions of their therapies. So this all have given us suddenly a new set of challenges for the patient, which was not there and which were not on the priorities in 2019. And definitely which was not part of any of the brand plan which was meant for this 2020. So I'm sure all these pointers should be an important part when we are going to set how I'm making an meaningful intervention on the patient journey. It's not about only selling pills or injection. I think the role has evolved to be a service provider. How I'm touching with my relevant touch points in the entire patient journey, starting from his awareness, diagnosis to the prescription and then continuation of that prescription. So tools and services that add value for your patient, that help him the entire journey. It is like very, very, very important. For example, in the cancer drugs, okay, so cancer drugs, we see a lots of side effects happen that only because of the chemotherapy. In the normal course of time, a patient used to go back to their doctors, they should get the consultation done, they should get all the queries answered. But in this restriction movement time, it has become a real time challenge, even getting all those basic queries answered. Patient not willing to go out of their home. Patient needed care at their home. Patient needed someone who can answer all those questions by sitting at the comfort of their home without exposing them to the external challenging COVID scenarios. And lots of dropouts because the market is dynamic. Every single prescription you have seen 10, 20, 30 players in the highly competitive generic markets. So patient shift, patient dropouts, and your single prescription value that should come back to you has gone down drastically if you are not able to build a proper intervention where the patient stays with your prescriptions, patients is happily on your medicines, and you know taking it for the prescribed duration of time which is there for you. Now with all those challenges coming up, So they have certain things which already exist, certain things we were able to modify and to present back to the patient so that making their journey a little comfortable. You know, for acute and niche therapies, all of a sudden, this segment has seen a long, huge boom where, the cancer care at home, physiotherapy at home, palliative care or end of life care at home, ICU setups at home, which has gone to a new level altogether. Now, this is an interesting ecosystem where patient is out of the hospital, patient is at their home, and then he expects services from you. So you imagine a scenario where the patient pays for the services or patient co-pays the services, and still your medicines are getting delivered to the patients, and you are ensuring if there is a right fulfillment of your medicines, taking into consideration your customers, your doctors, into the confidence that he is under good care and he is under an experienced professional care. So these are the newer avenues of your brand generation, brand expansion that must be considered if you are into that kind of segments. Chronic therapies. So chronic therapies, though they have shown a good boom in these COVID times, all the companies which are strong in chronic therapies are showing turnaround good results. But things a long-term loyalty benefits. Being in mass therapies, though in the past, especially in the case of insulins and all those stuff, there have been a very good efforts done by companies like Lilly, Cipla in respiratory, and they have been the live example how if you hold up your patients in that journey, you can clearly you can clearly have a long-term loyalty benefits. So this again one more important point for the chronic therapies. Now the patients are more aware. You will see the lots of online patient communities are building up awareness initiatives, and patients are also deciding basically in the chronic therapies where we see lots of brand switch. So do your brand has got that digital presence? Do your brand reflects in the top 5 and top 3 searches when you anyone go to the Google? So this brand digital search optimization is one more push that can be that can take your brand to an extremely new level if you are able to position it in a right way. Now moving to the third segment, which is your healthcare practitioners. I think their life has also gone through a see-through change. But the question that we really need to ask when we are sitting on our brand strategies and the brand communication, how the HCP behavior will change in terms of diagnosis, in terms of his treatment strategies. Uh, we have seen lots of injectables regimens have been shifted to the oral regimens, considering the patient comfort and avoiding the patient frequent visits to the hospitals. Lots of regimens have been changed from weekly regimens to do once in a month kind of regimens. Lots of uptitration of the chronic medicines also happened in this period of time. So is it going to be a long lasting impact? Is it going to gradually shift back to the normal? I think all those are very, very important questions. How the patient care model is going to evolve, how the disease monitoring is going to play its card in terms of continuation of care, and what is the HCP digital footprints in terms of self marketing. Because we all know all the good doctors, if you take out the niche, which are the top end customers, 5 into 10 years of practice, which are actually your millennials, which are going to have almost 60-70% of your doctors in your doctor list, how they are placed in terms of digital footprints. So again, I think the one world which has taken up in a big way was the kind of integrated practice management solution we are building and customizing for the doctors, where in one go it has got a website as a service, as a Google business optimization for him. So customers, uh, long back when we used to make our brand plans, we used to work upon how I can increase the footfalls in my doctor's chamber. So the footfall for the mean was used to be, we used to go and lots of cross therapy meetings, we used to go lots of awareness meetings and all those stuff. But now the medium has changed. It is with service, Google business, patient CRM and record management, especially in in the complicated therapies like oncology, rheumatology, even in the diabetology and cardiology, or even the new segment which is now evolving up is the heart failure. The patient CRM and record management becomes a very, very important tool for the doctors also, to make sure the patient is stitching to them, patient is coming back to them, and there is no seizure happening within the doctors also, in terms of seeking medicine. Telemedicine, remote consultation. We saw a huge peak coming up in the second quarter, when the COVID was at peak, and gradually it has subsided down. The peak from 50-60% has now 20-30%. Is it going to remain same? Is it going to evolve further, or is it going to change? I think this is the question. I think that time will going to answer. But I think that's how your individual doctors, your corporate chains, now they are going to evolve. And the last is your practice digitization. So, guys, this is how HCPs are going to change the way they used to have their therapies. Now, the very, very important point of individualized omni-channel communication strategy. Now, what is omni-channel? See, we have our traditional visual aids, we had our traditional brand reminders, brand input, then, companies, pharmas evolved to the iPads, where the some of the share of print medium has gone into the digital connect. But now, the omni-channel is one thing where you create a long-term user experience where the uniformity of the content, uniformity of the messages remain same. Be it your physical call, be it your websites, be it your field guides, be it your webinars. I think all the touch points, I think the omni-channel represents a segmentation where we see customers are present everywhere. And considering that scenario, how I'm planning my brand communication. So there are basic 4-5 thumb rules when we go for an omni-channel kind of communication strategy, which are the preferred channels and usage patterns. This again go back to my first slide when I was talking about the profiling. And then what kind of channels he prefer. He's in person, remote, digital, or combined. Content need to be adopted the way whatever medium you are going to use. One set of things might not work for all the channels, but the basic line is key. Your communication, your perception should be uniform across all the channels. You customize as per the experience, as per the medium, but the essence should remain same, and it has to be right sequence of channels at the right timing. So guys, remember, few years back it was all about right product to right customer at the right time and the right frequency. Now in this entire sequence, now we have one more word added. It's a right channel, a right medium. So I think then once again your profiling is going to play a very, very, very important role. And last but not the least, whatever plannings we are executing, there has to be a clear cut KPIs. Is it going to work? It is going to not working, and how frequently we need to fine tune to seek the better result. And now to help you in this entire challenge of omni channel, there are lots of new advantages happening in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, in terms of lead content curation. I think in Cipla Med has started using artificial intelligence in pushing the content. There are lots of integrated communication platforms given by like IQVIA and Adobe, where they follow the customer's digital footprints. What kind of searches he is doing, what kinds of website he is referring, what kinds of the topics he is looking on the internet. So all these digital footprints which lead, which help to customize what are the interest areas of a doctor. For example, within cardiology, is it in heart failure, is it hypertension management, what is looking for? Like old customer, new customer, you come to oncology, is it like a breast cancer, lung cancer? Within lung cancer, he is to very particular subset of the patients. So all those kinds of information, digital footprints, you have a medium and solution available for you, which will really help you to get better insights, and then channelizing all those insights into a very, very strong communication strategy. And guys, the benefit for this digital communication strategy is, first is reduces your customer acquisition cost, and the more important, you increase a meaningful engagement with your customers. It is not something that will irritate them, because you are building an ecosystem which is as per his requirement, which is as per his preferences. So definitely the communication becomes a more meaningful, and in the process you will build a more loyalty. And the last part of this presentation is in terms of fulfillment, reach, and access. This is something which have been tried by a couple of good brands in the market. Let's have a relook in our packaging, our how our packs are communicating to our patients. It's not about the traditional way of just giving a basic packaging information, storage conditions, and composition, all those stuff. Is it my pack is helping to create my brand perception? Is it helping to create my brand loyalties? Is it helping my patients to handle his disease better? So all those questions, I think we need to answer. If we have any need gap analysis done for my patient requirement, and that can be fulfillment through your any changes done in your packs. Ease of buying. Is it my product available where the patient has been prescribed? So you can't have that kind of distribution system where you can, boast my product is available everywhere. You have a prescription, my product is available. It might be true for all the leading brands, but what about the newer brands which are just taking, first step into this huge, big pharmaceutical industry? I think that answer again need to be answered. Keep, is it my pack has got my QR code? Is it has got a toll free number where I can easily guide my patient which is the nearest stock point where my product is available? And if it is not available, is it patient can reach back to me and I can take my efforts by backend channel activation the product reaches to my patients, and I can ensure that fulfillment happening. And if you can ensure that, guys, ultimately you are building a human face and we care. And if we have that kind of emotional attachment that Shubhoti was also touching upon when he was discussing about the brand and the patients, that kind of emotional attachment, especially in the chronic therapies, goes a long, long, long way, and that will 100% ensure you the brand adherence and the better loyalty. And the newer channels beyond traditional distribution channels. In the last 1 year, we have seen the advent of the flood of e-pharmacies coming up. Uh, as of now, it is anticipated in next 5 years it will have almost 10 to 15% of additional chain. The market share be taken care of by your online pharmacies, and the 70% volumes are from chronic. And see, the potential itself is there where Amazon, Reliance, everyone is pushing their big money into creating that ecosystem of online pharmacies. Are Is it something that I can explore for my brand? Is it something that is going to help me in terms of reaching out to patient in a more better way to improve fulfillment? So, and it can also help you to run and exploring and patient support programs, which is again have been restricted to very, very expensive therapies. But in the chronic therapies, where the cost of starting is not very less, but the entire cost in the patient life cycle goes huge. Can I build that robust patient support programs by taking help from all these e-pharmacies, which has got their presence everywhere? So guys, these are the 3 4 aspects that I thought would be relevant when we are sitting on our brand plans, on our templates given by our organization. I'm sure all these questions, if we are going to ask, you will get newer perspectives, and it will really help you in terms of reimagining the way you have been seeing your traditional brand plans. So in a nutshell, we have to shift away from marketing drugs towards managing a disease. I think someone was mentioning in one of the research paper the pharma industry has moved towards and where it's like more of creating an ecosystem where you work like hospital industry. It is the hospitality and experience that makes a huge difference for the pharma. So as the shifts are happening, I think our customized business strategy and customized digital strategy both have to speak to each other. Nothing can work in isolation. Just and two mailers or and three webcasts won't be able to suffice the plan. And I'm sure, guys, as I say, and I say with full confidence, ki no one is perfect here. I think I'm also learning. Everyone in this group also learning, because there's something which we are not trained to, which is something there is no historical example exist. So in a way, it's the right opportunity. COVID has given everyone at a same platform, be it your 10-year-old brand, be it your 2-year-old brand, be you a top leader, be you are just starter. Whosoever can answer all these pertinent questions where the current gap is going to have a next decades written for them. So agility is the way forward. This is highly VUCA world. So be ready with your plan B, and I think that's how it's my take in terms of what new should be there in the brand plan. Though I have not touched digital in a big way, because I assume, and what I could follow up, already this topic have been discussed in one way. So again, summarizing, guys, the profiling is going to be a big step for you. Real-time data is going to be a big helping hand for you in terms of putting your money where you want to build up. Uh, when you think about patient, think like about FM3G. What difference I can make in their lives in the entire patient journey and adoption. HCPs, how their practice behavior is going to change with the COVID. It is not going to be the same which was earlier. And at the last, how I can work on the fulfillment. So I leave all these 4 pointers to ponder upon to the larger audience. And at the last, wish you all very best. Thank you and happy New Year. Stay safe. And once again, thanks to Raman and entire team to giving this platform and opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Dharmendraji. That was a wonderful presentation on. We were expecting a digital marketing, but it was more than a digital marketing with so much of behavioral things you have given us. So let me summarize it in a very precise way. So your entire presentation was with challenging the traditional branding plans, and thanks to COVID, it has made the pharma industries to move from the traditional to adopting new technologies. And you started with a wonderful line saying like now the pharma industry has got a shift from push marketing to profile based marketing. So that was a key you have mentioned earlier. And the entire presentation you have cooked up with 4 points. That is the profiling, segmentation and targeting, patient centricity, omni-channel communication and fulfillment. So that was your key points you have made. And apart from geographic and demographic segregation, you have given 2 more other segregations like psychographic and behavioral segregation. And you have given the ABC of the customers like fully digital, partial digital, and those who are not comfortable with the digital. I think that will help the brand managers to segregate their preferred doctors in that. And you have given something on hub and spoke model. So, and we are talking about something on patients' newer challenges as well as doctors' newer challenges post-COVID. So, in an omni-channel, you are given integrated practice management solutions, and you are talking about individual omni-channel communication and given us strategies to use integrated communication platforms like IQA and Adobe. So to get the patient's footprints, I think that will be very useful for the brand managers to get the patient's footprints. And you are insisting on building an ecosystems based on their customer requirement. So that will help the brand. And you have given some 4 key points for changing the conventional into a latest digital and modern thing, like packaging and your QR codes and easy of buying, and that we care approach, that emotional attachment, creating the emotional attachment, and also with the traditional, shifting from the traditional distribution channels to the latest e-pharmacy platform. So you have given that. And everything was like reimagining the entire thing. The whole presentation was reimagining. so that your every slide was there. So you have to give everything with a new perception. So, and obviously you are absolutely right. There was a shift from marketing drugs to managing disease. I think that was a wonderful tagline. Now every brand manager has to keep it in mind for making a brand planning. And you have given something on customized business strategy, customized digital strategy, which will definitely help the managers to build up their brand. Thank you so much for all the wonderful insights. I think now it's over to Ramanji. There are so many appreciations which has come from YouTube, but due to the time constraints, we were not able to read all those appreciations. So much of appreciation is given for all the three speakers. Over to Ramanji.
Yeah, we will go to the one-line summarization of all three talk by Amit sir, and we will close it. And whatever the remaining questions are there from the audience, the respective speaker, I will request to address onto a YouTube and Facebook for viewers and audience.
I think one line summarization would do gross injustice to Dharmendra. After a very, very long time, I have attended a presentation which is so wonderful. I mean, this presentation could be kind of a manual for all budding product managers or existing product managers to go about conducting themselves in their own respective careers and jobs. So Dharmendra, very well done. I think digital marketing till some 5-6 years back, it used to be like the new girl in town. So everybody wanted to come and have a look. It still is for some companies, but there are many companies who have really appreciated the merits of the girl. And now there is another thing. If you go to see one girl, there are 5 girls actually. There is the social media marketing, there is search engine marketing, there is email marketing, and so on and so forth. So digital marketing is here to stay. People rather climb onto the bandwagon as soon as possible, and that would result in very quick ROIs, very quick and sharper communication strategies, focused campaigns. These are all the merits. I think this has been a very wonderful session. All the three speakers, starting from Subhadeep, the way he explained the merits of a big branding, to Kajal about the innovative marketing principles, and to at the icing of the cake was definitely Dharmendra. Thank you so much. And I thank all the audience. Thank you, Raman. Thank you, ICS Verma, Mr. Vaswani, and I forget the fourth person's name. My apologies. But nevertheless, it was a very big learning experience for me as well. Thank you so much. And you all have a great New Year, safe New Year. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much to our the live audience as well as the people reach. We got it close to 2,500 right now. Over a period of time, in the 1 week time, we reaches to highest is the 17,000 for the one episode, and putting together the 4 in a month, it goes to 40,000 viewers. Thank you so much to all the Facebook and YouTube viewers. We'll go offline.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
audience.
everyone.
Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you
Wishing
so
you
much.
all a wonderful, happy New Year. Thank you.
Same
Thank
to
you
you.
so much.
Yes,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Shubhadeep,
Thank you.
Kanchan. Good to see you again, old faces.